Hello, hello, hello. Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to Messy Monday on Old Gray Bricks. We hope you're having a great day today. We have one world traveler, one in-country traveler, and those of us who haven't left the Southeast. Anyway, so two.
It's a bi-national show.
It is. So Bricks in the Six just happened, and so these two have been at Bricks in the Six. One as a native participant, one as a visiting participant, and so we're spending some time learning about that show, which is achieved legendary status for its legendary participants. It's a really good show. I don't even know. Is it a Simon show? Did he put it together, or is it?
Simon helps out a bit in the background. He's, backtrack. 3 weeks ago, the organizer Graham Diamond literally broke his hip. He's younger than I am. He's probably in his 40s, and he was, as far as I know, he was doing coaching one of his kids' hockey teams or something, and something occurred, and he broke his hip. So he's had a piece of metal put into his hip and everything, or into his femur, I guess it was. So he, this weekend he was on crutches. He was hobbling around a little bit when he wasn't on crutches, and he had himself a nice electric wheelchair, and we were all jealous. We started calling him Professor G because of that, of course. Because he was injured, a few other people had jumped in to do more than they normally would have. Well, not saying that necessarily. I mean, Simon jumped in, and one of our East Coast guys, Sean McLeod, he jumped in as well, and literally flew to Ontario to help him out for 2 weeks, from Halifax. So yeah, I mean, it's there was a lot more other people helping out this time around, just because. But in general, I mean, Graham, Simon does do stuff. He runs some of the games and events that are going on at the show, things like that. Simon also just came back from Germany last weekend, because he was at Burkina Bavaria. So it's crazy.
But let me just go ahead and put this out there. Bricks in the Six got a visit from Abner, correct?
Yes. Yeah, Abner's been 2 years in a row.
And wait. So he hasn't been to Atlanta yet. So I don't feel like Atlanta has achieved, but he's coming, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I picked on him a little bit when he was there. I'm like, hey, Abner, Atlanta, and he said, yeah, he's going this year. So that's the goal.
The second thing is that Abner actually built something. Can we just go ahead and land on that?
Yes. Yeah. So I can't remember what the artwork's called, but Abner built a piece of artwork that's like the yellow, blue, white squares, like the
Mondrian.
Whatever he just
Mondrian.
said. Yeah. And he had even signed it with the date, and that went up for auction at the auction. And honestly, I didn't stay for the auction, so I don't know how it did.
I know who won it.
Who won it?
It was Adrian, I think.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Abner built a mock.
I saw Adrian, who is 7 feet 9 inches tall, with Abner, who is slightly below average, but yeah, it looked like whatever he had built Adrian had won it. So okay. I may be wrong about that.
Yeah, no, that would probably make sense.
But Abner building something is definitely legendary and and amazing.
Yeah. I was we were working on the registration table for a little part, and the person I was with, they looked at they picked it up and said, why does this say Abner on the bottom? And I'm like, yeah, no, that must be a joke, because right. And I never got a chance to ask him, but then later on I heard that they were auctioning it off, and I'm like, oh, okay, now that makes sense.
Very limited edition.
Very limited, yeah. Like one in never again. I don't know.
Yeah. I need him to, when I see him in Atlanta, I'm going to need to sit him down. Now, you're going to build me something, and I'm going to take it home. You can just snap these two bricks together, and it will still have red.
He's got to sign it, though, with a date. He's allowed one mock a year. Has to be signed and dated.
One of one.
What do you mean, one a year? That's one in like 3 decades, man. It's like
So he stopped me in the hallway at one point, and he says, he's like, I just want to tell you that, like, I get a kick out of when you do your travel post and you're driving all these obscure counties. And he said, it's just, it's interesting to see different parts of the country. And because he flies to everything. And I'm thinking, well, I'm like, you could see these parts of the country too if you didn't just take an airplane every time.
He's flown over all of them. He just hasn't been there.
Right. He's flown over all the counties.
Yeah. So Abner, if you don't know, Abner is a Lego fan. He used to be a Lego employee. Like, I think he worked maybe in accounting, something like that with Lego. And
there were rumors that he's actually related to the family too, and I don't know if that's true or not. But I've heard these rumors over the years, and I've never really asked him, but
he seems like an unofficial ambassador between the company and the AFL community. But I mean, maybe he just truly loves going to all of the conventions across North America that are of any size, or maybe he is getting secret Lego under the table to do this. I don't know what the deal is, but I don't know that I would want to go to as many conventions that he does, frankly, but of course he's not setting up. So he just, flies in and takes pictures and chats with people. And
yeah, he's not setting up for 2 days and taking down for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we fed him his first banana pudding. It was great. And we gave you your first banana pudding too.
Oh, they ran out of banana pudding.
He was short.
Did you have to snag some from Maddie?
That was Brick Fair. Yeah, that was Brick Fair, Alabama, and I they had run out. Maddie got one, but I didn't. So
it's amazing he even came back, because he got shorted on the pudding, and then the sidewalk attacked his face. I mean, that was a rough Brick Fair, Alabama.
That was Alabama. I've never been back to Alabama.
Okay.
For the record, then we moved it to Atlanta, and now it's like, yeah, okay, fine.
It's true. I do remember. I wish we'd have got video of Maddie trying it, because there was that taste, and the eyes rolled back in her head a little bit, and then there was the share, and she did the pull away kind of. Mine.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Hopefully Maddie can come out to Atlanta. Was she not there last year for a bit in Atlanta?
No.
She came to Atlanta for another reason and then popped into the show.
Yeah, that was a couple of years previous, right?
2 years ago.
Yeah.
She and I were doing the Lego Masters final round, which was the day before the Atlanta show started. So she flew out that afternoon. So she stopped by the first setup day just to say hi to folks that were there. But I mean, the only reason she was in town, frankly, was that Lego Corporation had flown, Lego Masters had flown her down so she could do the video stuff with us. But,
so actually, since we broached the subject, so what do you guys think about still no word about the season that is rumored to be in the can for Lego Masters, and the fact that they actually have advertised on social media the Christmas special, but they're showing reruns and not the new Christmas special. And we're getting to the end of the year. So, and I've actually heard somebody say that they think Lego Masters is dead in America. So what do you guys think?
I have heard rumors that I don't think I can actually say in public.
Okay.
About it, but
spell them out. Spell them out on a chalkboard, and you can hold.
I'll write them in the back of in code back here.
Describe them in metric. None of us in America will understand.
In metric, yeah. It might not happen. Like, they might not air it, but I don't know if that means it's dead or not. There's reasons, and I don't know. Anyway, production reasons, I would say, over people reasons. But they did drop a commercial months ago, and apparently that commercial got yanked. Like, there was something that made its way across the internets, and apparently it got yanked after that. So I don't know if anybody can still find that original a link to that original commercial. It'd be interesting to see, because I think we only recognized like one or two people in that whole thing anyhow.
I don't think I saw it, and I don't think I remember who was on it.
No, it might have been when you were moving and stuff. It might have been back then, like in that time where.
So I don't have a strong opinion, about all this stuff, but I just want to say that I got to meet Nina from season 4, and
she's awesome.
I have met Sam at Brick Slopes, and I'm pretty sure maybe I met him at Chicago, but I think I'd interact with him before both times. But I actually really wanted to meet Nina, and I saw her helping when I walked in the second day. And if it's not obvious to everybody, I have a cold, so my voice sounds terrible. I saw her helping when I was fiercely. We got in um, later than I had hoped, and then I had some other things I had to do, and I needed to just go rest in the evening. So I was just behind setting up, and finally I got stuff set up, and I got a chance to meet her in the hallway, and I was like, it was actually really funny. I was like, Nina, can I get a picture with you? And Sam's like, oh, I'll get out of the way. I was like, well, you can be in the picture too, Sam. And he laughed about his mom being like the star, and but she's just very sweet. And as I've gotten a little bit older and talking with, for example, Mark and Steven about how much energy it takes to be on a show like that for a mom who to make it that far in the show and put up with those hours and have a good attitude about it. Like, I mean, I enjoyed watching her on the show, but she just seems like a really nice person, meeting her, and very, very sweet. And before I even saw her, Sam had said, she loved your mosaic. And I was like, oh, that makes me feel good. So we had a slight, I had a slight fanboy moment with Nina. So that was nice.
That's cool. And they were the team that threw down like so much brick in
Oh
short
yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
There's no, I mean, obviously Sam was a more experienced builder, but he could not have done all of that by himself. There's just no way. I mean,
Yeah.
she was definitely helping. She was definitely bricking.
which
And the
also
other,
means their team was like, hey, this is what we're doing, and I'm going to do it. That makes a good team,
yeah.
So
And then Paul from season 4 was there, and I saw him with 2 kids, I believe. And we chatted a little bit. He's kind of a quiet guy, and he was just down the table from me. He brought a micro city layout, which was nice. We chatted a bit, and I'm honestly not sure if he remembered that I was in the same casting Zoom with him or not, because he didn't seem to remember me. It's okay. It's just funny, but he's just chatting. I think that was it for cast members, but
No, Steve, one of the Stevens, the firefighters from Calgary, they were there too.
I missed
was-
that.
You missed
the
a
big guy
firefighter,
or
Matt?
the normal size guy?
I didn't recognize
The
him.
normal sized guy, I guess. Funny story. He's a firefighter, and he's from a different province. But at one point on the night we were taking down stuff, he walked past, like he was walking down the main corridor, like to the convention rooms, and there's a couple of fire doors, and like the first one everybody was using to load and unload. The second one had like a staircase, so no one was using that thing because it didn't look all that safe. And he sits there, he pushes the door open to make sure it's opening properly, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. He's into that habit of just boom, yeah, okay, it works.
Did you hear the rumor as to why the fire alarm got triggered?
Yeah, okay. So let's go to that. The reason why I didn't stay in the auction was because I was exhausted. So we figured, you know what, let's go upstairs and take a nap. And the fire alarm goes off at about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night in our tower. So everybody goes downstairs, and it's like, please exit the building. Once you get into the lobby, or once you got to the bottom of the stairs and you stepped out into like the corridors, the message changed. It was like, please remain where you are. So we kept on walking, of course, because why listen? By the time you get to the actual lobby, no fire alarms going on because it's like 100. Well, it's like 100 yards or whatever distance traveled. So we just went to the convention, but as rumors went on, and I think what ended up happening was there was a fight that happened like one floor above the floor I was on, and someone pulled the fire alarm due to that. Now, I've also heard things of human smuggling of people from Russia. Like apparently there was someone downstairs who spoke Russian and was wearing barely any clothes.
Yeah,
And like there was like all these things going on. It's like, what the?
Wait, you say classy Canada? What's going on?
We could just blame it on Taylor Swift fans. What can we say?
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing. Taylor Swift was in town. Like we were in Mississauga, which is a suburb. Yeah, maybe the contestant decides that. Matt, we could comment on that one too. Broke Lego Masters US.
Broke the bank.
Broke it.
So other than that, I just have to say the Canadians totally lived up to the stereotype of being too nice.
Sorry.
people were super nice. Jeff's sister heard that we were battling colds, brought us hot tea and tea to take on the road. It's very nice. And I chatted, and to my surprise, I didn't know Jeff had a brother who was also there. So
Wait, you had a brother there?
They were like,
go ahead, man.
She's like, and this is my brother Ron, and I'm like, oh, Ron, yes. Like I was like trying to act like I knew that Ron existed until that moment. but Ron was, Ron didn't seem to care at all one way or the other. And then later, Jeff's sister says, "Well, Jeff and I are much closer." So maybe
my brother's 8 years older than I am, but I think he claims he's been to another Lego convention. I don't remember it ever.
Okay.
But this is, as far as I know, this is the first time he's ever come to one of our shows. And it was just happened that my sister was talking about going. They both live in the same city, like a couple hours away from where we were.
Barely.
And she's like, I like to go, but I don't want to drive. And he's like, well, I'll go with you. So they bought tickets right away and came up for the Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon part of the block of things. So it was cool to see them and stuff.
They were awed by how large your layout was, by the way.
I think everybody was. I think I was awed by. I've never had it together in my basement, so
that's true. Yeah,
8 by 10 feet. I don't have room for that much here. I can do.
But you knew how big the castle keep itself was, so you had at least a sense of that.
Yeah, true. It's funny. You were talking. Sorry, you were talking a few minutes ago about Paul from Lego Masters being there, and I don't even remember seeing him.
Well, I mean, he was not there constantly in the room, so he was there, set up and tear down, and I saw him but he had like 2 small children, so maybe he was doing kid stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's probably why. Okay. Anyway, sorry.
So Dave Codice, who's a regular in Jeff's Canadian Brick Builders.
He's been on this one years ago, too, during COVID.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
He was super nice, super friendly. I mean, I always enjoy chatting with him.
Yeah.
But some people in the Lego community are more on the introvert spectrum than he's way more extroverted than I would have guessed. Like he was like chatting up with kids and like just performing for the fans clustered around his giant space layout. He was like always in a good mood, like just laughed at things and he'd be like he'd be the perfect like wingman for a fun weekend if you're just like doing something like Cowdice. I mean, I already liked him as a builder, but like even as a person, he seems like a lot of fun too. So
yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, you and he came together to Atlanta back in the day, right? Brick South.
No, it was me and Greg Highland.
Was it you and Greg Highland? Okay.
Yeah, Cowdice hasn't never been down there. I'm currently considering messaging his wife, which sounds funny, but me and my ex introduced them. So I used to work with his wife, and I'm currently thinking about messaging her as I'm scrolling through my Instagram or my messages here to say Atlanta in February.
Well, I encourage it. They have a teenage son, and the way I read it is it might be more likely after he graduates from high school. Like he's just like, well, right now, he's like, I've got a lot of stuff with my son, but he kind of, like held it open, like, that things might change in a couple of years. Where I got a little more travel flexibility to just go off and do something like that.
That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is some other people. Now I'm totally spacing. He's in our intro with the spaceship flying, and it says,
crap. Sorry. Yeah, Nathan Proudlove was there. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Oh yeah.
He's taller than I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's from like Montreal area, so it's like 6-hour drive, which for most Canadians is a daily commute. No, just joking. But he comes out every year as well and stuff. And he built some cool ships and stuff that I'd seen.
Yeah, he built like this really long. It reminds you of the 2001 Space Odyssey, the ship that goes out to Jupiter, where the center part spins around for the gravity forces generation. Really, nice stuff. And as usual, I'm sitting there talking to him. He goes, I'm pretty happy with it, except for the fact that the giant motor that rotates this is right here in the middle. And then once he pointed it out, I'm like, yeah, it does. I see it now, but I said, honestly, you're so distracted, this viewer, with motion that I didn't even notice the motor that was sandwiched in between the two moving parts. And I said, it totally works. I mean, because the human eye is just, drawn to motion. So, I hadn't noticed it until you mentioned it. And that was the same thing when I noticed, I was pointing out some things in the mosaic and how it was flexed at one point and it was bothering me a lot. And people were like, oh, I guess it is when he pointed out. I'm like, yeah, it's definitely both. And it was driving me crazy, but I was too tired to lay it back down and fix it. And I ran out of zip ties. Thought I had enough. I'm like getting towards the end and I reach in the bag and I'm like, oh dear, I only have 12 left and I need like 30. This is not good because I need to do the cross bracing. And I literally just did not have enough zip ties to do it. And I was kind of mad at myself because if I'd known it'd been that close, I could have been less generous earlier in the zipping process. But I was like, it's 8:00 at night. I'm not gonna go to a hardware store and buy more zip ties. Like, I'm just gonna do it with what I've got left here and just stand it up. So lesson learned.
Mental note: buy more zip ties.
Mm-hmm.
Always have a backup supply of zip ties with you.
I mean, I had a bag of 1,000, which I'd already opened up for a prior show, but yeah.
But you would use that to zip tie everything on there already before, like everything was using that bag of 1,000, right?
No, so there's some zip ties that never get cut.
Yeah,
those are all trimmed short. So
were those all part of that bag of 1,000?
No, they were from the previous bag of 1,000.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll shut up.
I'm on my second bag of 1,000. That's how much of a scary person I am. I'm on my second bag of 1,000 zip ties. That's why I'm on the FBI watch list, I'm sure.
Maybe that's what the Canadian, the trafficking thing was. Who's this guy with all the zip ties?
So we're coming back across the border, and it's a Sunday night. So last night, and we pull up, and there's nobody at the border Sunday night at 9:00. It's dead. And we this time we crossed back at Niagara Falls. It's super dead. The border security, the U.S. Border Patrol, she seems slightly bored, so she takes our two Thomas's and I's passports, and she's looking at them, and she goes, "Are you Thomas?" And I was like, "No, he's Thomas." And I'm mad. And she looks down, and she looks at me, and then she looks at his passport and looks at him, and she's kind of like, "Really?" And we were like, "Yeah." And she's kind of just does this whatever, floats your boat. And then she closes them up and hands them back. And then we looked at it in the car, and actually our passport photos look surprisingly alike when you put them side by side. I don't think we look anything alike in person, but the passport photos do kind of look similar. But her attitude is just whatever identities you want to claim, I'm not going to be bothered by it tonight. So she's just waved us through. That was kind of funny.
So in that human trafficking, that was the night to go through, apparently.
Right. Yeah, I mean, how many people we could have packaged into the cardboard boxes that were filling the back of the CRV? I mean, who knows? We could have a family of 5 back there, but she wasn't gonna make us open those boxes up.
I guess.
Z-Suit. Some other people I got to meet for the first time. So for me, highlights of going to a more distant show is seeing built stuff I've never seen because those folks don't come into my orbit where I live. So seeing the builds, some of which I've seen on Instagram, some of which I'm not, and then meeting the people face to face. And so a number of the people I'd at least been introduced through Jeff's show. So Sean has been on, and I'm terrible with names, but the French Canadian guy who lives.
Oh, Etienne. Yeah, he's got a weird
Etienne. He'd been on. But so a number of these people, I had some awareness of who they are, but I hadn't talked to them face to face. I met this guy named Johnny, who is an Anglo that lives south of Montreal near the Vermont border. He was using a crane because he just had foot surgery or something, and he and I ended up having this 30-minute conversation about traveling different parts of North America, and just super nice guy. He ended up being the parts draft with me. I talked to the fans a lot less than I do at some shows, but I actually walked around during the public hours and talked to builders who I'd sort of bumped shoulders with, hadn't really talked There was a older woman from the Toronto area. It was her first show, so we sat and just chatted for half an hour. Whose name I can't remember right now. I'm sorry. And also one of the two, and Adrian and I chatted. We talked about electric vehicles for a good long stretch. I waved at Simon Liu. We just kind of said hi a couple times, but he was always seemed like he was always doing something, and I was often doing something too. Sant came over. I'm putting the mosaic together. Sam Albert came over and like pulled up a chair and sat next to me and was kind of quizzing me about things to think about when you're doing a large mosaic, because he's going to do some project with some school kids, and so he just wanted to sort of bounce some stuff off. And so I got to talk to him for an extended period. But my number one fan, so I already had my fanboy experience with Nina. My other fanboy experience was I so wanted to talk to Zachary Steinman about his cubes, the guy that does all the cube type stuff. And he brought what I swear is like everything that's on his Instagram. I mean, he brought it all. And he had just gotten back some of the items from Lego House. They've been on display for a while. And I waited for the crowd to clear out, because their system is there are morning tickets and there are afternoon tickets. And then everybody all the fans have to clear out, and it gives people a chance to go get lunch, and they don't have to stay there at their tables. And so it was quiet, and I just came over and I just said, I got to tell you, I'm really excited to meet you. I was like, I see your stuff on Instagram, and it makes me drop my jaw. Yes. And he was a super nice guy. He's from Nova Scotia.
No, I thought he was from BC. I thought he was from the West Coast, but okay. Anyway.
No, he's definitely from Nova Scotia, because he drove to Toronto.
Okay. Oh yeah, it does say Nova Scotian as well. My bad. I got the wrong
he
side
explained that he's gone to some shows where he flies, and he said, I can't take as much because I have to go on the airplane. And so, but he said his wife has family in Toronto, and so they came out for a full week to visit. So he's got a wife and I think some kids. I could be wrong about the kids part, but anyways, he's like, I'm doing my Lego thing, and the rest of the family's doing this. But he's like, I could pack a lot more stuff than I would if it were, if I were flying to Chicago, which he did go to. He's like, you got to take what you put on a piece of luggage.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked him, some questions like, how long have you been doing? He started with COVID. He had cleared out all of his childhood Lego. He didn't have any. COVID hits, and there's like lockdown provisions, and so he started buying bricks. And that kind of made me annoyed that he's so good already.
Yeah.
Right.
But and he's like, I just like challenging myself, and kind of like trying to use my imagination, and he said, he's like, I haven't paid that much to the hobby. It's really about just doing stuff to challenge myself. And he said he got a call from Lego House saying, would you like to come and, show some of your cubes, put some of your cubes in the Lego House? And he's like, I didn't even know what the Lego House was. He's like, I'm Googling it, trying to make sure this isn't like some like, like a questionable thing. Like, what is this Lego House thing? I don't know. And then he goes, oh, okay, I'll come. And again, he's like, I still don't really understand much about it. And he said, I get all the way over to Denmark, and I brought cubes for the display, and they have each displayer gets a turn to stand up and talk at the ceremony that they have. And he said, I was towards the very end of the batch, and he said person after person got up, and some of them actually were in tears and saying how meaningful it was for them to have their stuff at the Lego House, and have all the people who come through there see things that they built. And he said, suddenly I grasped that this was actually a much bigger honor than I had even anticipated that it was. So he said, I'm still learning about the community. He's like, I've started off just building stuff to kind of entertain myself, and I'm grateful that people like what I'm doing. And he's like, I'm happy to be a part of the community and share my stuff. But it was kind of endearing, because like he wasn't the least bit egotistical about it. It was all kind of like, well, I just kind of stumbled into this thing, and it's going okay.
Do you think new people like that? I mean, the measure of creativity is what it is, and everything, and an eye for what looks good. But do you think people new coming into the hobby don't have like the old school view of just stacking bricks on top of each other, that new techniques are more fresh to them and easily learned, rather than those of us who learned them learn the old school way and everything like that. I mean, do you think that's a factor?
I'm sure. I mean, I still think bricks are always supposed to point up.
Right.
Like this whole building sideways thing is like, oh, that's right, I can do that now.
Yeah, but that was unusual and still is unusual for people just getting into it. I mean, the sets are designed by great Lego designers and former fans and stuff like that. So those techniques are more fresh, and there are a lot of finesse bricks now that we didn't have. So they don't remember the days of the past. They have new pathways that they can get to, I think, faster when it comes to building stuff. So, but that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, we're gonna have a discussion about you guys being at Bricks in the Six, but we've kind of gotten there, and it sounds like a great time. How many designers were at Bricks in the Six? How many displayers and all that kind of stuff? How big of a show is it?
So actually, there's a geeky answer to that. Graham, the organizer, was joking that he had to limit a 256 attendees, because after that his 8-bit computer would error out and he'd have problems. Sarcastically, of course. But I think they ended up having 257, which was kind of humorous. Which for an event in Toronto, it's the largest event. Even when we did our Brick Fest years ago, we only had about 150 at the most. And I'm totally due to COVID, totally due to everybody, like Lego Movie, all that stuff. It's grown in popularity, and it was pretty cool from that point of view. What was the rest of the question?
Basically, just how were there? Was it mostly Canadians?
Or
did
there was a few people from Europe, I'm pretty sure, because I remember seeing a few people from the UK in the list of attendees. And like Matt said, there's some Americans that have come in as well, obviously, because he did, and so did others. The local groups, so Ontario is a big state, if you want to talk American. And we have multiple lugs throughout. And so we've had people come up, drive 4 or 5 hours from Ottawa to come to Bricks in the Six, because it's the only one in Ontario anyhow. We had people come out from Montreal and Quebec City to come out. We had people from the West Coast come down, and from the East Coast, as we said, Zachary and Sean McLeod. They came out from that end, from that side of the country. So it is kind of a drawing point for Canadians to come to, because apparently Toronto is the center of the universe, unless you're Taylor Swift fans, and then Toronto is hell. But so we were in Mississauga, which is not really a suburb of Toronto. It's not part of the Six. So ideally, the event should have been called Bricks in the Sticks instead of Bricks in the Six. The Six being the 6 major cities that make up Toronto. They amalgamated years ago. So I think Drake gave Toronto the name of the 6 years ago. So they just took it for the name, or they just used it, Sticks or Bricks in the Six for the name. But they're see, I lost my train of thought again. Bricks in the Six.
Where people were from and all that
Where
kind of
people were from. Yeah. I had a point to make.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift has 6 concert dates in Toronto, and 2 of them were on the weekend at least. I don't know if they're continuing. I know there's some more next weekend. So Mississauga is thankfully far enough away from Toronto, from the downtown area where she was in concert, that it didn't affect people that much. But it did affect people that lived in Toronto who were trying to come out to the event every day, because they actually had the time thing, so they were heading back into Toronto while the concert was going on, and not before or after, because then they would be not able to move around and stuff. So it was kind of humorous. We did have a few people that were in from Edmonton that were AFOLs, Edmonton, Alberta. So a flight away, a 4-hour flight away or so, and they were going to the Taylor Swift concert one of the nights after the event was done, or Sunday night. They'd come in and with the goal of, hey, we can go to Lego convention and we can go see Taylor Swift. So, but yeah, it was kind of crazy that maybe that's why there was trafficking related. I don't know. That one's still confusing me. And again, I don't know if that's the real story, but that's what the rumor was, that there was some kind of trafficking type thing going on, and the hotel's close enough to the airport. It's like a 20-minute drive from the airport, so it could be possible. I don't know.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it is.
Did y'all have public days Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, Saturday, Sunday?
Saturday, Sunday, they did 4 sessions, like Matt was saying, 2 a day, and there was an hour break in between, which, to be honest with you, was amazing because we actually got to take a break. We went to like a local restaurant. Like the Saturday, we just sort of like a group of us ordered pizza, and we just kind of sat in the middle of the convention room eating pizza, type thing. Which sounds like a normal day for most times, but like after you've had 4 hours of public or 3 hours of public come through, and it was jam packed. I think they sold out every session. I think there was like 6,000 tickets available, so 1,500 each session, and they sold out all of them or most of them. So we still had the first session Sunday morning was fairly quiet, but I guess it's still sold out. Like, it was just the people came in slower on the Sunday morning, but Sunday afternoon was again jam packed. Dave Cowdis's layout and mine were right near the front of the venue. Like, we were in the lobby area of the venue, so we were like the third and fourth thing in when people came in. So like the second it started, we had 3 people deep crowds around our layouts, and then they would slowly move on, and then they come back like hours later to look at it again because the crowds were a little less. So, but yeah, it's a good venue. That like I said, I like the idea of the 2 blocks of tickets. I think I think Brick Fairs do that as well. Or I'm trying to think if Chicago did that last year too, where they had the different blocks of tickets. But I think the blocks stopped and then started it right away. Like, there wasn't an hour break in between.
San Antonio did that.
Oh, San Antonio did it? Okay.
I mean, you were there.
They basically say this block is over, get out, and make everybody get out, wait an hour, and let the next one back in.
And then the next one's back in, yeah. And I mean, they were, some people came in like an hour left in the first block. They would let them come back after the break and finish. Like, it's not like we're going to say, no, you can't. You paid for the morning. You didn't show up. It's your fault.
I know Atlanta did half-day tickets, like you come in the second half, but there was no effort to get the front half.
Yeah,
it just metered a few in coming in late. That kind of spread.
Yeah, well, because they were cheaper tickets, I think, for the afternoon, right? Yeah. So you save a few bucks, but you have less time. You can't spend the whole day there, and no one complained. I mean, 256 registrants. I think there was about 480 mocks. We were, they were considering putting mocks on the roof at this point because there wasn't not a lot of space. Some of the aisles in the main room, like they had 8-foot aisles for most part, but there was a couple of sections where it was almost like a one-way traffic situation. I didn't get a chance to get into the hall during those times, but Matt, your Painted Ladies, were they in that row?
So yeah, there was the Painted Ladies were at the end of a table, like opposite the Painted Ladies. I'm sorry. The mosaic was opposite the end of a table. And so people were trying to look at the mosaic, and the people were also trying to look at the end of the table. It really was not enough room for 2 groups. Yeah. And there were a lot of people looking at the end of the table because there was the guy that had the motion.
Jason Ellman, JK Brickworks.
Yes, JK Brickworks.
Yeah.
Which those are very cool things. I'm glad it wasn't the first show with the mosaic. I might have been a little more cranky, like, people can't even see it. It's fine. It's the 6th time I've taken it out. I'm whatever. I'm not obsessed about it. But my buildings end up being split across 2 different parts in the hall just because estimating how much table space things were going to take up, and I didn't set up my buildings till late because I was so busy on the mosaic. And by the time I went to set up my buildings in the slot I allocated, it was nowhere near enough table space. So they found me some other spots on the floor, which was fine.
Yeah.
I'm glad it wasn't my first convention. I'd probably have been more anxious about it. I'm just like, whatever, you just tell me where you can fit me in, and I'll put my buildings there. And like one of the buildings I brought, there just wasn't room. I just left it in the car, and it's fine. I will go to many other conventions, so it's fine. But they were kind of, spaced throughout the floor.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys remember Sam Chan? Asian guy from Toronto?
Yeah.
He's still in the hobby, and he was the poor guy that had to deal with the floor plan, and it got to the point of him sending out emails asking if there was people that didn't want to stand behind their tables, that wouldn't stand behind their tables, so that they could push the tables together to save space. Like
Wow.
I don't think we maxed out the venue. I think there was a few more rooms available, but it was pretty close to maxing out the venue. And I was talking to Graham last night quickly, and he said, yeah, I think we can do one more year here, but it'll be some creative planning to make things work. And that being said as well, there were two major groups. So like there was I mentioned, the Toronto group was there obviously, but the group from Ottawa was there, as well as some of the guys from Quebec, the K-Lug, QUE lug, not the letter K. And they both had done project support things with their group, which I believe when you do project support, you have to show that you've shown it to people and stuff like that. Like you have to do reports. Because it was the only lug going on, or the only event going on from now until August of next year, both of them brought their project support stuff. So those took up a huge space. Like the Quebec lug had built a huge mosaic that was like twice the size of Matt's, if not more.
No, it was about 10% more.
10% bigger?
But they brought
two of them. So there was like they were on the floor because they couldn't put them up on walls because they were just too big. So that took up a huge.
They could have.
They could have, but
they didn't know how to do it. Because I had an extending conversation with the gentleman setting it up.
Yeah. And
I said, I asked him how many dots it was, and he said the Fairmont Hotel one was about 105,000 dots, and I was like, I was at 98,000 with mine, and
okay,
and but I was like, oh, you beat me. And then he goes, well, there was like 7 of us who did this. It's not one person.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, so I still have the single person record,
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Grumpy J. I'm trying to see if I actually have it. I didn't take a picture. Like usual, my usual form, I took almost no pictures of anything.
I took a picture of it.
But the Quebec lug, they had, that was a Quebec lug, and the Parliament, they're the Ottawa guys, Parlugment instead of Parliament. I love their name. They had built a bunch of buildings around Ottawa, like all the architecturally gorgeous buildings. There was the Natural History Museum, which was massive, and it took the guy like all night to take it apart.
And to set it up.
Yeah, to set it up, it took him almost all 3 days pre-show.
And much of it was made out of those 1x2 rounded tiles with the pinhole, to the top of the stud.
Yeah.
And he had just stacked them like one stud, so they were very bendable, so we could get these curvy shapes.
Mm-hmm.
I just looked at that and I thought, oh, that looks so fragile. I mean, that's like a moto. That's like a moto fragile level. I was just sweating thinking about all the things that could go wrong if you move that very far. So.
Yeah.
Speaking of fragile, so here, South Carolina did their own little. They called it South Carolina Con or Brick Con or whatever. It was a 1-day thing. It was up in Greenville. I just couldn't justify that with my schedule, but the Bricks and Minifigs here in Charleston was having their first anniversary, so they asked people to bring mocks. So Jake and I decided to do that. So basically everything that's in crates in my garage were packed up after Atlanta Brick Convention, right? Last year. They've been moved to my basement, moved to a moving van, into storage, out of storage, into my garage, then into my car and into the Bricks and Minifigs. And I open it up and the Buzz Lightyear ships were in there. I knew they were in there. And the XL01, the very first one, the big one, was sitting there right on top. And I pick it up and it's not missing a brick. I'm not like the one stud antennas are still on there. Everything is still on there.
Cool.
So I'm just looking at it and marveling at that. So I put it on the stand, on the display. I turned and I knocked the antenna off. And I apologize to the mock. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I put you through so much. And I just So I was proud of my one stud connections lasting that long until my doofy self touched it and broke it. So but that's awesome. It was pretty cool. We didn't go to the events, but I got lots of people in Charleston who know us that sent pictures like, "Hey, we saw your stuff," and all that kind of stuff. So that was
One of our Atlanta people, Jason Santee, sent me a message saying, two of your mocks are in this like Reddit thread. Somebody went to Bricks in the Six and they were like, here's some cool builds, and like you're in there twice. And so I'm driving, so I can't really, look at it. So Thomas pulled it up and he's like reading me some of the very nice comments, and I was like, that was cool. It's always great when like random strangers, because they don't know me, so they're not like trying to butter me up or anything by saying, "Oh, that was great." I mean, they just liked it. So
Yep.
the other thing that struck me is that I thought there were a lot. I encountered a lot of people from the Ottawa, from Parlug Mint. Is that what? No.
Mint.
Parlug Mint. A lot of people from Ottawa in the parts drafts and some of that stuff. And I actually met a lot of first time convention displayers.
Mm-hmm.
Several of them. And, and one woman was kind of, I think, a little nervous. And I said, look, we all started, baby steps before we learned to run. And I was like, you're going to walk around the hall and you don't compare yourself to someone like Simon Liu, who's been building for 25, 30 years. Like, of course you're not going to start and be at that level after 1 year or 2 years, like, just don't look at Zach Steinman, cause he's only been doing it for 4 and he's already amazing. But not everybody can be Zach Steinman. But, and just, be inspired by, what other people are doing, and, take away something that you see and you think, okay, I want to incorporate that in my next build. And, I had a lot of just really fun conversations with other builders. I think I had more fun talking to other builders at this convention than I've had in quite a while. And in a way, not knowing as many people as I do when I would go to, say, Chicago or Atlanta or local shows kind of freed me up to just talk to people I didn't know. I was in a parts draft and we just chatted with a bunch of people. I met Justin, who he had done a lot of Lego photography. So he had like canoes in the water and like minifigs and, green backgrounds and stuff like that. And he does some really nice work. So just getting a chance. So there's some cool Technic, there was cool motion, there was huge stuff, there were big mosaics, obviously a gigantic space layout from Cowdice, giant castle. I mean, that had a really nice mix of stuff. And true confession, I forgot to go downstairs to the train layout.
Oh, did you?
There
was a whole room downstairs with
I didn't even get a
train
picture of it.
Trains. Who cares?
Yeah.
Trains. What good are they? Right.
Yeah, I mean, and that was like part of the venue issue, that like the kids' activity area was kind of on the other side of the lobby of the hotel.
It was crowded.
Train room, dungeon, as they were calling it, was kind of like down the stairs and down a windy hall into a room that was a good size. Like, I mean, they had a lot of space in it, and there was maybe 6 or 7 layouts in there, and most of them were connected together, which was cool as well. But I mean, they didn't get a lot of people getting down there because either people didn't have time or not.
I will say it was well marked. It said trains multiple places with arrows, but it's not like they didn't try.
Yeah. And then they also had a vendor hall as well. Like, the vendors got their own space. Last year, the vendor hall and the kids' activity area were in the same room, and that didn't work so well. It was also summer, and the air conditioners weren't working properly, and that room was a sauna last year. And this year it was kind of warm, and this year the hall where Matt was in was warm as well. And where we were, like, I was out in the lobby, so we had this huge big glass window behind us, and I was even warm, even though the cooler air was seeping through from outside. Speaking of the vendor hall, Chris, I shared a picture. I wanted you to, if you could throw it up. This is one of the sets I saw that caught my eye because of the fact of what it is, and the price on it made me go, "Wait, what?
$80?"
Yeah, I was like, "Huh?" I didn't stop to ask, is this truly $80 or maybe 70? Because there's a little 7 down there,
I mean, I have one. I have one that I opened.
Yeah. I mean, I was buying these for $2 or $3. So let's hope that video inflation hasn't occurred. But
I do think that one was more rare.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, now it's popular because you got the baby red dragon and you want a big red dragon. So maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, that was just kind of weird.
One thing that I really liked that y'all did up there is I think it was Toro Lug, maybe not, but one of the lugs used their project support brick from previous years to build giant sculptures. And so they had sculptures of Baby Space. Was it?
That was part of
Baby
it as well.
Paralugma. And they had
Yeah.
one that they just had built bricks in 6 in giant letters out of green bricks. They had the Space Babies. They had I think a Chima lion with a sword. They had these.
So the sculptures were from Lego Canada.
Got it. Okay.
The bricks in the 6 bricks. So Graham is he's an LCP.
Okay.
He's the second one in Canada. So he has a massive amount of Duplo.
Got
the
it.
green Duplo. So they built. He got people to build the bricks in the 6 logo out of Duplo. Up front in the lobby, there was 4-foot high classic space figures and some classic space babies that were built. That was done with project support from the Ottawa group. And they had also taken those characters and taken them to different venues around Ottawa, taken their photos, and they actually have a calendar, which I don't have with me upstairs right now. It's upstairs. I got a copy of the calendar. But it's basically just here's this part of Ottawa, like the Byward Market, and in front of the sign you would see, the space guys all set up and stuff. They made the news and stuff in Ottawa for that.
So two comments about that. At the ambassadors meeting, they were talking about how they weren't sure how the calendar was going to do, and they had a very sweetheart deal for the printing. So one of their lug members works in a print shop or something, and so they got it at below market rate. Cool. So some of the printers were asking more money than they were intending to sell the calendar for. So they were like, "Well, that's not going to work." But so they got a low cost, and so they're actually going to have a profit that'll go to support the lug. And they said it sounded like hotcakes. They were like, "We'll probably be sold out by the end of this convention." They printed 200, I believe.
Yeah.
And the other thing I loved about it, this is what I liked about it, is that when families were queued up, and kids are impatient, they want to get in there, the kids could go stand by these giant sculptures and get their picture taken, right? So it's a way to sort of deal with that antsy kids in line. Give them something to do, give them something to focus on, and that's it's something that makes some sense. I don't know if it's something Nick and Amanda, who help do our Atlanta show and other Southern shows, it'd be an investment to get something of that scale built.
Yeah.
Or even if you did one of those murals where everybody builds a 16 by 16 thing and then you attach it in the right spot and then you fill it all in. So I don't know if that's something you'd want kids doing in line, because the line has to keep moving, so they'd want to sit on the floor and start popping those bricks into the correct spots. But I thought
then just general people would want to come up and do it. People, not even people that have maybe paid to be in line. Like if you're in a hotel scenario, right?
Right. I'm fairly certain some hotel guests came strolling through in the evening and they're like, "Oh, what's all this?" And it was open, so they just kind of they got a free show. But
no, I mean, we were if we saw it, we would tell them that it's Graham was wheeling around in his in his wheelchair every once in a while, saying, "Yeah, it's a closed show right now, and you can come back in the morning," type thing. Also, a lot of hockey tournaments going on this weekend as well. So there was a hockey team. Oh yeah, go figure. There were hockey teams in the hotel also. So,
the Ontario Ball Hockey Association was having its meetings in the North Tower.
Oh, there you go.
What hockey? What did you call it?
Ball hockey.
So
ball hockey?
Yeah, tennis ball and hockey sticks, basically.
Floor hockey is what
not tennis ball. Yeah, floor hockey, I guess. Sorry.
That ain't what we refer to it around here, but that's
well, yeah. For you, ball hockey.
I want to talk about that
ball. Yeah.
You want to talk about that church I drove by in West Virginia?
Yeah, that was awesome. And last thing I wanted to talk about was the swag bag.
Yeah.
Of amazing bits. Graham has connections because I guess he's an LCP, so he got things that are not even available yet to Bricks and Pieces, like the gargoyles and the new hands that came out. I'm trying to think of another cool part. Well, everybody got like a gorilla.
Well, and those tigers are like $10 a piece.
The tigers, the diving bell piece. These guys.
Oh wow!
Nice.
I think that's from a Ninjago set now or something like that.
That's from Dreams.
Oh, from Dreams. Okay, and then an orange air tank. I didn't quite get this at first, but he gave us an orange air tank, which is cool. Because the one gift of purchase didn't come with the orange air tank. And then I was like, okay, I got a head, I've got a pair of legs, I've got a helmet. I'm like, and an orange air tank. I'm like, what's going on? And then I realized, oh, Graham's realized that the dark blue classic space torso is available in the Lego store. So he's given us the legs and a helmet at least to make
Oh, nice.
to make a guy. And I'm like, oh, that's a brilliant idea. But yeah, just lots of cool pieces that aren't available necessarily yet to the general public.
And you need to put that green bandana on your forehead.
Tan beavers, which are now available in Bricks and Cube pieces, but they're in here too. And no, I don't need that. But thanks for bringing the fig, Matt. Dave and I were the lucky.
More Canadian by having beavers given out at the event. I mean,
actually, so yeah, okay, fine. We also got a friend's raccoon.
Nice.
And we got a friend's beaver.
A friendly beaver and a friendly raccoon.
Yeah. So we did get that. And a space baby in white.
Space baby.
It was a very nice.
Oh, correction, non-space baby in white. It's just the white torso and the air tank.
It's the slightly disturbing head space baby.
Yeah, that too. but yeah, so all around, I love the event. Like I'm booked to go every year. Someone in our Discord chat for the like this whole Discord group for Bricks and the Six said, can I just auto enroll and you'll just bill my credit card every year? I'm like, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Well, it's cool that it's that swag bag, that bag of parts says that it's very AFOL centric in what it's trying to do, because they know what gives you a thrill by getting those special bricks like that, especially. So that's awesome. That's super awesome. And
Graham's following in the tradition of BrickFet, which was the event that Janie Red Brick ran years ago. He talked about it a couple of times through the weekend. And BrickFet was one of the shows I was helping to organize as well. And our slogan was always for the fans, by the fans. And he's trying to keep with that tradition. So it is a very fan friendly event. There was some confusion with the schedules this year, but again, he was out of commission for a few weeks, I think, and so other people had to throw the schedule together, and there ended up being 2 copies of a schedule published online in the guide. So there was some confusion, and that can happen. They'll look hopefully to improve that next year.
And one difference that we've discussed on the show before is no awards, other than there was a single award given out. And it's not for best in show. It's for kind of community spirit and lifetime contributions. Yep. Dave Cowdice won it the year before. And so, they kind of rotated around people who are serial contributors and supporters, so which is a nice thing. So now that I've actually won an award, they can get rid of them as far as I'm concerned. But I mean, there's just a lot of, I would say the other thing that stood out is the token culture is beginning, but not fully caught on north of the border. So I made a point to bring the tokens that I left behind when I went to Austin. I brought my tokens, and I wish I built maybe a couple more, but I went around and left them, and I was happy to receive a few tokens myself. So that was very, very nice. Obviously you go to a larger convention, there's more people handing out tokens. And so the mass of them can build up. Obviously, if you've got, 50 people or even just 30 people handing out tokens, they can really start to get a certain weight to them. But I was glad to see that I wasn't the only person handing out tokens, because otherwise people were like, what are you doing? Although
I did have someone come up to me, sorry to interrupt, but I did have someone to come up to me and saw one of my tokens, because I had collected the tokens and put them at the back of the castle.
Okay.
Just because I didn't want kids thinking, because we had no stanchions around our stuff. Yeah. And that was a fun experience. But anyways, that was just because of the space issue. We wanted to have people be able to get it as close as they can. And I had one of the AFOLs came up to me and said, I have that too on my layout. Did someone just leave that here? And I had to explain that it's a sign of appreciation type stuff. And that, so yeah, it hasn't, especially people that are their first convention, right? That have never been to one of the bigger American ones or whatever. Tokens didn't really exist. I mean, they did exist last year at Bricks and the Six, but they were not as prevalent for sure. So yeah.
Well, and that's the only thing I want to bring something, because I want to participate, but I like, seeing whose tokens you get and everything. In fact, when I opened that bin of the stuff I took, I found my VW bricks, and I found a small Paul token, and then there was like a stack of yellow plates, one by one plates.
One by one twisted.
They were twisted, and I don't know whose that was.
I got one of those too last year.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, we really need to create a registry of some sorts to say here's the token and here's who it's from.
If Adrian had the twisted tower where each floor was twisted, but that was at Brick Fair, Virginia, like a couple of years ago or 2 years ago.
He wasn't in Atlanta, so that's where I got it from. So doesn't matter. And if they're anonymous, they want to be anonymous, great. But it would be nice to know who they were, just because you might even want to go bless them back, kind of thing, or at least say thank you. But I like the fact that the main award there sounds like the White Brick Special Award at Brick World. Yeah. That's basically it, Yeah.
And they had a small raffle as well, like just for some sets. I mean, it was like what, maybe 20 sets. Like they did something for the volunteers, so not all the volunteers got something, but volunteers had a special raffle as well. And then they gave away another 5 or 10 sets after that to just the general people that were there. So I mean, it's not. It's part of it is that he doesn't have the budget to buy stuff. Lego Canada did supply, which is kind of a story I'll tell in a minute. But Lego Canada did supply a few sets for us to give away. Graham had been contacting them, Lego Canada, for many months because he does work with them. Like if someone calls Lego Canada and says, "Hey, we need something built next month for this event or whatever," then they reach out to Robin Sather or Graham Diamond, the two LCPs in Canada, and one of them will, if they can fit it in, they'll take on that project type thing. So they work closely together. And every time Graham was on the phone with them, he was like, "Okay, guys, is there any news on the event? Is there anything you can give us? If not, that's okay. I just need to know, right?" And he kept on following up with them. And about a week before, he kind of reached out to them and said, "Okay, guys, sorry, you have never answered me. I need to know an answer." And sorry. Finally Tuesday, the event started Wednesday. Tuesday, they contacted him and said, "Okay, here's what we have. What would you like?" And his first answer was yes. But then he said, "What would you like?" So he chose a bunch of stuff, and he had asked for like 50 or like a couple hundred of each, and of just some old poly bags and stuff, just to throw in the loot bags. And Lego was like, okay. They shipped out 4 skids, one of each poly bag. And we were able to give out poly bags to every person that came into the venue, because it was like 4,000 or 5,000 poly bags that came in. And all of us, we got the 4 poly bags. The humorous thing was the poly bags were Nexo Knights, the Lego Batman movie. It was like the old, remember that old Friends Hedgehog Bunny tic-tac-toe game? And I'm trying to think what the last one was, but it was basically just a bunch of older. And it was a Friends. So it was the Batman pod and the Friends pod.
The Batman pod. That's cool.
Yeah. So it was basically stuff pre-COVID that they've just had sitting in their warehouse, and I was there helping with the unboxing of that stuff, and I tell you, it was sitting in the warehouse for a while because there was a layer of dust on top of those boxes you wouldn't believe. But 4 skids came in the day before, the day of the event, and we're like, how are we going to get this stuff? Oh, Brick City Planner. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And
cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, agreed. So yeah, it was a bit of a hectic thing for us to get all that stuff cleared out, because like the skids were in the area where Dave Coutis and I were setting up. So it was like, none of us can set up until that stuff's gone. But it was cool that they came out. They brought the stuff they wanted. They had the old Ninjago eye sticker. Do you remember those? We had a box of those. We had a box of like Lego Life stickers, which is hilarious because Lego Life magazine is no longer like existing. It's now the Lego magazine. Yeah, it was hilarious. Obviously kids loved it. The Dream pencil. I don't know if you guys had ever seen the pencil from Dreams in the States. I don't know if it ever got out. But we've had it for 2. Sorry?
This is the family show. Kenny, I'm sorry.
We've had the pencil for a couple of years now.
I bet you have.
Great, yeah, lots of wood there. Graham had gotten those last year, so But so it was nice to be able to give a little bit more, and also the llama set. Actually, I just realized I have the bag right here with the stuff in it. But a supply llama kit.
Oh, cool.
Fortnite. So I don't know if like this is something that Nick or because Bricks O'Brien was there as well. Nick from Lego Masters, who's really into Twitch and he does a lot of Fortnite stuff with them. He was actually out of town on vacation, but Brian, and he lives like 10 minutes away from the venue, so Brian was actually staying at his house. And I wasn't lying. Dreams.
I thought that was a travel toothbrush.
No, that would actually make more sense. And it's a pencil with Z-Glob on the end, which is actually pretty cool. PC eraser. And like I said, the pods. So Simon and I were helping with the setup or with the stuff. So we got this Next Night pod. So they got like a couple of thousand of these sets.
Dana should have come. Should have come.
So, but just a bunch. I'm not going to pull out all the pods or all the sets, but it was nice to have something. I mean, for a smaller group, he doesn't get there. For a smaller event, he doesn't get the what's that called? The recognized Lego fan media show or whatever it's called, like the Chicago.
Brick. You get a special brick for that and all that
special
stuff.
Brick, yeah. And Cody was there. Speaking of which, Cody was there as well, and he announced. Well, he was mentioning that there's a show in Colorado now next April.
Yeah, April.
They're doing a slopes in Colorado and in Utah.
24, 25. I asked him if he's hoping it's an annual thing, since I have family in Denver, and I promised them that if there's ever a real Lego show in Denver, I'll make an appearance. And he said, well, we hope it's annual. It all depends on how it does. And I said, you're really making my decision easy here, aren't you? Because like if I don't go the very first year, maybe there won't be a second year.
There won't be a second, yeah.
And the other thing,
a show for Moto, right?
Yeah. It'll be Moto should be the home field star there. So
yeah, it's a 24-hour drive in April.
Yeah, I would almost. It's the week before finals. It's a really hard time for me personally, but I mean, I guess I could set up my semester so the last week is like, okay, finish your written assignments, and we're not meeting that week, so you all have time to work on your project, whatever. And I just disappeared for a week.
You mean you can't wheel in an old TV cart and play like a Bill Nye the Science Guy or something?
No, that will make the students upset because they're like, "Oh, we could just watch this on YouTube at home. Why are you making it?"
Why are you making us do it in class? It's a 20-hour drive for you, Matt. Well, it'd probably be like a 36-hour drive because you would have to hit all the counties.
If you take the most efficient route, it's basically 24 hours out and 24 hours on the road, which I don't take the most efficient route. So it's a 3-day drive.
Yeah.
So
Same.
if the show's 2 days or the show's 3 days, and then I need, I need 9 days basically to go out and back. And anyways, I didn't want to talk about one other thing.
Sure. And
that was the Dirty Bricksters.
Oh.
Which Mr. Benjamin was the host, and Mr. And I don't know if we're allowed to talk about your significant other, but she was also very helpful, as was Dave Kodai. So they were like a tag team, multi-person team. I was afraid that all the Canadians would be too nice to steal from each other. It was vicious.
It was vicious.
Vicious. There were a couple of kids, a brother and sister, who got like some really sweet sets, and they got stolen from like 4 times. And
there's a story there, though.
Is there?
The parents came up to us earlier in the day and had said, "We know Dirty Brickster can get mean. Our kids are participating. Be mean. They need to learn."
Good. Okay.
So one set of kids. So that was like the second set of kids, but the younger set of kids that got stolen like 4 or 5 times, they were loving it.
Good.
At one point there was this is the $50 game, and the one time they had like 2 advent calendars for this year. And the kids were both happy because it's like, yes, we both get an advent calendar. This is awesome. And then literally they get stolen from them like 1 or 2 rounds later.
Yes.
And you could see them get sad. And at one point they could steal it back, and they decided not to because they had gotten like 20 poly bags.
Yes,
so they were happy with that as well. But there was like a little small box on the table for the $50 one, and no one was picking it up. And it was literally it was a 6x6 brick built pink purple box with a bow on top.
I had it in my
something
hand.
Friends.
I had it in my hand at one point, and I set it back down.
And the person that picked it up right near the end of the game opened it up, and there was a goat, still in plastic, the spotted goat. And it obviously got stolen enough times and became locked. But we have an extra thing, which I kind of like, is that the first person that picks, usually it would be the first person that picks gets to steal whatever or gets to trade with whatever's still available. The first person that picked in that game got a creator tub of like generic parts, and I felt horrible for the guy. And we had created a rule that I'd forgotten completely about it that said the person that is picks first can pick from anything in the room, even if it's locked. And I totally forgot about it. And he basically walked up, grabbed the tub, handed it to the guy who got the goat, and walked away. And I'm like, oh my god, you went for the goat.
There was a woman who was about 4 seats away from me, and she had just stolen the goat, and she knew this was not going to last long. So she took a selfie with her and the goat for what she described as the 60 seconds. I'm going to have this because, it has to be stolen through. And she was absolutely right. Like almost as soon as she snaps the picture, someone walks over and steals the goat from her, which it was so much fun. The crowd was into it. Everybody was yelling.
It was fun. Yeah.
The other thing, somebody brought one of the full 32 by 32 trans clear base plates. And I was green with envy because I was like, oh, I would love to have one of those. And that got stolen. But that actually didn't get stolen as quickly as I thought. Someone brought like the first buildable Darth Vader, I think,
the first Technic Darth Vader,
which that didn't get stolen as quickly as I thought. And then there was like
there was some good stuff.
The R2D2 that was motorized or something.
Oh, the Mindstorms R2D2, the one that came with its own brick, which I didn't think that thing would go, and it did. Someone also brought like a Marvel print that was 2 of 3 in a frame, and no one, like the guy who won it, no one stole it from him. I was like, that surprised me a little bit because to me that would be possibly worth money. Like there weren't as many people just giving a pile of poly bags or gift of purchase sets, which I really appreciated. There were still a few oddballs, and there were still the people that gave like a $25 gift instead of a $50 gift and all that stuff. But overall, it was an amazing Dirty Bricksters event.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I always tried to.
Please tell me that the steel got a sorry every time it happened.
No, we yell at Dirty Brickster like everybody else.
They all put on their mean faces for Dirty Brickster.
Nice.
So, but
love it.
But yeah, I love running that event. So, Dirty Brickster, not the Bricks and the Six.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've heard. This sounds like a fantastic. I can't wait for. I guess this is the last convention of the season before Atlanta, right?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, there might be others in Europe, but I don't think there's anything in North America that I know of.
That's right.
Yeah. So we're ending the season and starting the season.
So this is cramming season. If you're planning on building something for Atlanta, it's cramming season. So, which I know that's what Mark's doing. Mark hasn't talked to us because he's building on his cube for a new Hashima, right?
Yeah, although we're calling it Neo Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta. Yeah. That's true.
But yeah, I'm just playing with textures and colors and stuff. So I have sort of a wall kind of thing that I kind of.
Oh, nice.
I got some of these big teal panels I got from Lug Bulk, and was just trying to throw some parts together and get some textures and things going in there. And I don't know where it's going yet. This is purely like brainstorm, sticking pieces together and seeing kind of if it sparks anything.
I like it. Here's mine. I started working on mine. Here it is. I moved it. There it is. I got it.
He's Lego noodling.
Yes, I've got the cube done at least, so that's at least a start. But I also have some of the big hamster tubes that I was going to try to maybe work those in somewhere.
Your mom's a big hamster tube.
You forgot to buy the hamsters though. You got to get the hamsters.
Yeah. So anywho, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where this is going yet.
We need to have a new Hashima build party where we just all get on. We're all working on our cubes because I think pretty sure Dana's doing one too. Maybe not.
I think so.
I'm doing 3. So, and you know how far I've gotten. I bought some light kits and I bought some translucent stuff, and that's about it. So, when I get back, it's front burner. So,
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm doing because I may end up taking off all of next week because Small Paul's out of school for the holiday, and my company was hit with a cyber attack a couple of weeks ago, and they still don't have all the computer stuff fully functional. So I may just take next week off in order to be home with Paul, and I might spend some time trying to hit the bricks here and see if I can come up with something. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm sort of
yeah, well, I that's one of the things for me is I hearing all what you're saying is reminding me of why I'm probably not taking much to Atlanta, just because I've done it and I've taken carloads and 2 carloads and everything like that. I want to go, and I mean, since I don't get to see you guys as much anymore since I've moved, I'm just going to go. But I really want to drink it in. Like, I forgot that John is the one that made that little thing for me, and that was all the kind of stuff. Because I didn't take time to drink that in, right? I'm setting up my stuff, taking care of other people's stuff, doing all the stuff, and I'm not taking time to get inspired. So I'm going to kick it in neutral. I mean, if everybody does that, then the show won't go on. So I'm not advising it, but I'm kind of just saying, you know what, I earned it. I've done enough. I want to take some time to be inspired and not worry about whatever, not having to sit behind anything and watch it, to get to walk around and hang out with folks. It's been a while since I've been able to do that and get some inspiration, because I've had a hard time really getting fired up about building lately. I've been building some stuff here and there. I've got some deals and everything like that, but I need to be inspired from some other stuff and everything, but also sit back and look at people who have started recently, like you just said, and just have really muscled up and built some amazing stuff, and learn some new techniques and see some new stuff. So that's what I'm looking forward to in Atlanta.
I mean, that's basically what I did last year in Atlanta. I brought the mosaic, which was one piece. I didn't bring anything else. I just did the mosaic, and I didn't stand by it the whole time. I moved around, visited with people, which some people don't like, but I don't care. That's how I like to do the convention. So,
well, I mean, I feel like it's, what, I've done my time. I've done my bit for King and Country. I've been doing this for 20 plus years of going to conventions, and I'm gonna just pop neutral and enjoy myself. So,
well, when we roll out the announcement that people won't be ordering on bulk lug if they don't actually participate in the show, hopefully we'll get more people sitting at tables who don't build stuff, because there are people that emailed me to participate, and I'm like, I don't even know who this person is. I mean, they're a paid member, but I don't know what their face looks like. And if they live in a different state, I mean, that's one thing. But some of these people, I'm like, who's this person? Like, I don't think I've ever seen them build anything. So this will be the last year of that.
For the record, Uber Geek is not one of those people, probably. But
yeah. No,
he is.
No, he does display. I'm agreeing that he's not one of those people. Yeah.
It's just Chris happened to pop it up. Just
I absolutely know what his face looks like too.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris.
Well, you know what? Even if I don't hit any participation thing, and I don't get to vote in lug bulk, I'm not going to cry about it. I mean, I love it. All my lug bulk is fairly untouched. I haven't really built any big projects with it, so. But I might buy the minimum or whatever just to get some new bricks. But
you come to shows. I'm talking about people who never come to shows.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
I decided to bypass on lug bulk this year for my group, or from Tor Lug. I just because I don't know what I'm going to build, and I'm planning to do the Denmark thing next year, so I might as well not spend money when I don't have to.
Yeah. Those 247 euros are going to make all the difference.
Well, not necessarily, but it's just I don't know. I don't want to. I need to take a break from. I don't know.
Build is when you put one brick on top of other brick.
I wish I had my Dr. Terrible right there just to throw it up there to show what he built a long time ago. But anyway.
Build is what Abner did.
Yeah, if Abner can build, anybody can build, right? So
That's right.
Which is insane. But yeah.
All right, my friends, it is well past our hour, but this has been a good laid back conversation. I appreciate it. So be awesome and build awesome. Love on your neighbor. Be kind. All those things. Have a good night, everybody.